Hi, today we're going to be in Isaiah chapter 8 as we continue on our journey through the book of Isaiah. As the Lord has recently taken me through a wonderful journey revelation through this book, and I wanted to share some of those nuggets with you. So we're in Isaiah chapter 8. We're going to look at verses 11, 12, and 13. The Lord has given me a strong warning not to think like everyone else does. He said, don't call everything a conspiracy like they do. And don't live in dread of what frightens them. Make the Lord of heaven's armies holy in your life. He is the one you should fear. He is the one who should make you tremble. He will keep you safe. The Lord has given me a strong warning not to think like everyone else does. Listen, I think it's important to note that God doesn't often give warnings. God is not a Chicken Little. He is not one that works often from the negative side of things because he lives constantly on the positive side. He can do what he wants to do, when he wants to do it, and how he wants to do it, right? And so for our sake, sometimes there comes circumstances and situations where God comes in and he needs to appeal to us from a different angle. I'll give you an example. Jude says, saving some by fire, right? But the message of the gospel isn't a scary message. It's not a fearful message. It's not we don't want people to back their way into heaven. We want people to hear the love of God and be drawn by the love of God because it's the love of God, right? That is the good news of the gospel. And yet Jude says you can save some by fear. I just want to say to you that it's not often that God uses warning type of language for us, but this is one of those times. And I want to challenge you because of the nature, the corrosive nature of the culture around us, not just in our day, but the culture of the world system around men and women of all ages. There is a numbing effect that can go on because of the consistent pummeling of ideas and thoughts and conspiracies, if you will, as this passage talks about, that if we're not careful, we can be like that toad getting cooked alive in a warm bath water, and not recognize that instead of a bathtub, we're actually sitting in a boiling pot that's about to cook us. So God said through Isaiah that the Lord has given me a strong warning not to think like everyone else does. So what's the warning? Don't think like they think. Beloved, we can't afford to think like the world thinks. And this goes for every area of world think, group think, political think. Listen, some of the ideologies that are going around today in our political arena are just downright dangerous to our soul. In fact, they can kill you. And I'm not trying to be political. I just want you to know that God warns us to not be conformed to this world, right? Romans 12, 1 and 2. Don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. We can't afford to think like they think. Wow, that's such a powerful thought. He goes on to say, God told me, don't call everything a conspiracy like they do. And again, I can't resist the political environment today in our nation, America. There's conspiracy here, conspiracy there, and conspiracy everywhere. It depends on what side of the aisle that you're looking from and where you're projecting to, but conspiracy is everywhere. It's somebody's email on some server. It's somebody doesn't believe in this and somebody is for that, and one thing gets blown out of proportion, and over here another thing gets blown out of proportion. Before we know it, there's no real discourse. There's no way to meet each other anymore because we've demonized each other so badly that it is the ultimate risk to dare to work with one another. He said, don't call everything a conspiracy like they do, and don't live in dread of what frightens them. Beloved, I want to tell you the world's not ending. I want to tell you that the climate change, whatever you believe about that, yes, things are changing. God made us to change. Everything he created changes. It doesn't matter what you think about the climate change issue in a larger scale. I'm not speaking to that. I'm simply saying don't believe the doom and gloom, because there's a God who created this planet, and he's holding all things together by the power of his word. Don't think for a minute that you and I can usurp his place to hold all things together by the power of his word. See, if we're not careful, we'll believe all the conspiracy theories and we'll live in fear like they do. And he said, don't live in dread of what frightens them. Why? Make the Lord of heaven's army holy in your life. Of all people, dear ones, we should be ones that are fixed, our attention grabbed constantly, our focus settled on who he is, right? It's who he is that provides us with the place of peace. You will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you. That's God. God's going to keep us in perfect peace when our mind trusts in the Lord always, in all things, right? Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, right? In all your ways acknowledge him, and he's going to direct your paths. We don't have to worry like they worry. And yet sometimes, beloved, we find ourselves looking a lot like them. I want to put a call and a challenge out to you today to not think like they think. Be transformed in the renewing of your mind. Find a way to fix your attention on the Lord of heaven's army, and understand that your soul is anchored in him, and it's nothing gets to you until it gets past him, right? And that perfect love, knowing that he loves you perfectly, will cast out all fear. You don't have to live like they live. You don't have to live in the fear that they live in. Beloved, we are loved by the Lord of heaven's armies. If God is for us, who could be against us?